Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Letting you in a little early here, right at 1 o'clock Central Time on the dot. Really excited to have you all here about, yes, if you have your AI bots, you can definitely record it, no problem. Excited for everyone to be here today, talking all things TAC and modern law enforcement operations. We've got a star-studded crew. Cool to see everyone continue to roll in. Hello, everyone. Ken Stoll, Jeremy, Lawrence Dunn, welcome. N. Hudson, Rob Edwards, great to have everyone here. We had about a little over 90 people sign up, so we're going to wait a minute or two before we get going. But just a reminder to everyone, this is a roundtable format. As you can see, it's a Zoom meeting. It is not a Zoom webinar. It is not a restream or anything. This is meant to be a open kitchen table talk style environment. We're going to have our speakers all do a quick 1 minute intro here in a little bit, where they're going to give a quick high-level overview of who they are, and then they're going to give an in-depth conversation about how they are using TAC in their own modern law enforcement operations. And so we will give a little bit of a what is TAC and how is TAC used and what are the different flavors of TAC, from ATAC, WinTAC, Cloud TAC, TAC Aware, all those things, and then really look into all the things of why TAC matters for law enforcement and some of these unique case studies and these great examples of all these leaders here that you see on the screen and how they're really driving TAC adoption in the way that you can learn from and apply to your operations. And also, most importantly too, is if you don't have Civ TAC 2025 on your radar, you should. I will put the link in the chat here. I'm just continuing to monitor, letting everyone in. And lastly, I just want to remind you that if you are not speaking, just to put your audio off. Welcome to you to have your video on. And just this event is meant to be for you. So if you've got comments and questions, start firing up the chat. And even it would be great to let us know if you could fire up the chat of where are you calling from? Where are you from? What department you're with? Would love to know that. And this is really meant to be a collaborative networking event, active event for all of you. So please fire up the chat and get that going. So my name is Kevin Sofin, host of the Smart Public Safety, Smart Firefighting community. Really have been diving into all things TAC for a little over 2 years now. Still very much just a novice, but enjoy learning about the power of TAC. Kudos to AJ, got me on the TAC train. TAC is the way. So we're really grateful to be alongside here today of Paul Clifton from Coconino County. I probably butchered that name. Coconino County Sheriff's Office, Joel Schmidt with Chico Police Department, Ryan Cobb with Texas Game Warden, and Mike Cueto from California State Parks. So we're going to have quick presentations from all of them, and then going to lead to open Q&A from all of you in the audience. And Ken Rabin, I see you, Zev Nadler, I see you. So both of you expect to be saying something here a little bit later. So first, if we could kind of go, go in reverse, but Joel, Paul, Ryan, and Mike, if you could first lead us off with just a quick 1 minute intro or so, and then we'll start off with finish with Mike doing the first presentation. So Joel, one minute high level. Tell who you are, who you with.
Well, thanks, Brian. We appreciate the opportunity to take part in this. My name is Joel Schmidt. I'm a lieutenant with the Chico Police Department out here in California. For those of you who might not be familiar with the area, it's about an hour and a half north of Sacramento, kind of up in that Northern California area. We've been using TAC on and off for the last couple of years, just real high level. It's been on our mobile devices. We're pretty much an iOS dependent department, so we're currently using TAC Aware for that. And then we've been using WinTAC and a couple other different features, but we've integrated it within some of our patrol operations as well as some of our specialty units, and we'll be talking about that more as time goes on. Thanks, Brian.
And Ryan, or excuse me, Paul.
Good morning. Glad to be here. My name is Paul Clifton. I'm search and rescue coordinator and deputy with the Coconino County Sheriff's Office in Northern Arizona. Flagstaff is the county seat. And we've been using TAC since about 2019, primarily in search and rescue. And over time, that's made its way, with the successes there, that's made its way into patrol and now SWAT and pretty much all the divisions in our sheriff's office. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Paul. And Ryan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the invite, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Cobb, Texas Game Warden down in South Texas. I've been a warden for about 5 years now. Also one of our drone operators. So really looking forward to discuss how we in Texas, both with Parks and Wildlife and our state park agencies, have been implementing TAC with y'all today.
Thanks, Ryan. And Michael.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Cueto. Hey, Kevin, really quick, you mind if I just share the screen and I'll go intro and straight into the presentation?
Yep, right on. The floor is yours. And if everyone gets a reminder, keep it on mute if you can. Video welcomed, and start firing up the chat with questions, and going to spotlight you as well. So yep, you were spotlighted. We can see your screen. So take the floor, Mike.
All right. I'm Mike Cudo with California State Parks. I'm a canine handler with our special enforcement team. And sorry, somebody's mic is on.
I'll find it. If your mic is on, this is the beauty of doing these. So please go on mute.
I had a couple of little bolt bang radios for point
Sorry, one sec, let me.
in the world. Yes, they didn't have enough frequency on them, so I had to buy another one that had the ADA.
I think it's Paul Innocent.
Yeah, I think these should. They should.
Thank you,
All right.
Paul Innocent. First strike.
All right. Yeah, so I'm Mike Cudo, California State Parks. I work on a special enforcement team, and I'm a canine handler. And I was introduced to TAC via Fish and Wildlife, and our department is using it. We are mainly an iOS department, and we're getting a little bit into Android. We're using WinTAC, and I'll explain some of the stuff that we're doing. And then I'm also going to represent Department of Fish and Wildlife out of respect for them, because they're not being represented, and they really have paved the way for us. So we really appreciate that, and I appreciate the time to speak. I also see that Gavin Wolfel is in this meeting as well, and he is very well versed and works for CDFW here in California. So if there's questions later, Gavin's going to be the subject matter expert to discuss things with CDFW. All right, so thank you for listening to me, guys. Thanks for the floor. This is some of the stuff we've been working on. I am going to break this presentation up into 4 sections, and you'll see it on the slide. First stuff I want to talk about is in-field use cases, and I got one from CDFW, and this one's actually out of Chico. So I'm not going to tell stories. I'm just going to quickly go through this and relate it to TAC. Nature of the call/incident was a felony pursuit initiated by a CDFW officer, and he was at gunpoint in Chico. The comms resources at the time were repeated radio channels with Chico PD and the local CDFW squad, and they had cell connectivity, and they were using TAC at the time. So how TAC was used was the dispatcher put out the address of where the incident was, but it's happened to be the wrong address of where the felony vehicle stop actually was. The real location was about 5 miles away, and responding officers from CDFW were able to get to that lieutenant because of their use of TAC. The outcome and how TAC helped, it improved officer safety greatly by getting the officers to that lieutenant who was solo at gunpoint. And the improve in their department is that their dispatchers are now using TAC and are more aware. And to give a little correlation, California State Parks and CDFW use the same dispatchers. So that's also been a big partnership with trying to start this TAC program in the dispatchers center. So use case with us, we had a recent situation. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I'll give you a little bit of oomph to the story about the crimes. Is attempted carjacking on a peace officer and a carjacking of a civilian. It involved kidnapping. It involved some assaults. It involved some assaults on peace officer, and it ended up being around a 20-mile long pursuit, rural mountain roads, cell connectivity in and out, intermittent radio service throughout the pursuit, and changing over radio channels. Was involved with our team, and our team all uses TAC. We use TAC with the location tracking of the units involved, getting real-time updates. So lead vehicle in the pursuit, everybody else could see where that lead vehicle was, and the trailing units could catch up. There was some hiking, some canine tracking. So, the units that had to catch up had to get back into their vehicles and then locate, where this pursuit was continuing. The outcome and how TAC helped. The victims received medical care. We knew those locations, who was doing that treatment. Suspect detained, provided medical care, and transported, which was in a different location. And based on the suspect's willingness to commit violence and disregard for public safety, it was important to de-escalate this situation as soon as possible. Although some tools were not used in the conclusion, because we were able to safely get the suspect detained and treated and transported, we did have other specialty units and other officers who were responding in case this was going to turn into additional stuff that was going on, either foot pursuit, and we got a track, and et cetera, et cetera. But we were able to get there quickly based on knowing where that lead vehicle was. So it was really valuable, even in that limited cell service. TAC doesn't always work in limited cell service, but it'll get you there, even with one bar. Next section I want to discuss is day-to-day TAC operations currently on patrol or pre-planned operations like search warrants. CDFW is doing a really good job. Their patrol officers, for the most part, all turn on TAC every day at the beginning of shift. Dispatchers can see it. Other units can see it. They're also building great relationships with some other agencies, and they'll have other agencies pull up on their TAC server. And the officers are able to locate their partners, provide better net of patrol, basically patrol efficiency, which in the law enforcement side is very important. And by not checking multiple locations, being efficient with their patrols, and they're aware when somebody needs help. For California State Parks, it's primarily used right now within our special enforcement team. It's used by the operators, by our incident command that we'll have, and by dispatchers. They have access to it as well. And TAC is used in limited numbers by patrol officers, but so far the feedback has been, they really like it. And it's giving them enhanced situational awareness, deconfliction, communication. I mean, even basic tasks on the classic, you're doing transient and illegal camping contacts, and there's undeveloped trails. You can't see where the other officers are making contacts, and you're avoiding those crossfires, getting back to those officers if, a use of force is occurring or evidence needs to be collected, et cetera. So they're really liking it for that purpose. And they are using it in limited form for tactical planning on the go. So this is a current department TAC program on what people are working on and what their goals are. For Fish and Wildlife, their goal is to get every single officer on board and to get IT to help with programming issues. And they currently have compatibility with plane cameras, and they're working on drones, but do have that capability. They're using Android and Apple devices. PC is using WinTAC, and they are getting into their use of MPU-5s on aircraft and on the ground as downlinks, which is really cool. I've also seen them use eCodes, if you're familiar with night vision and thermals, for situational awareness, like augmented reality. For us, we are, like I said before, special enforcement team, limited patrol. We are starting to use it on drones and some video capability on drones. And mainly we use it within our set team, and we're using it for operational planning. Every operation has the pre-planned plan that's downloaded on everybody's phone, deconfliction and locating suspects, where to set up perimeters, etc. And we're currently using Android and Apple devices, PCs, and various drone types. This is our future goals for the departments, and we are trying to stay in lockstep so then we can be a force multiplier between the two departments. Our short-term goals and stuff that's kind of currently being worked on is live stream video for the aircraft. Fish is already implementing that. This picture you see is what our Cessna 206. My chief is on this call. He could answer questions about the plane. And so could Gavin with the plane types that they have. And we're trying to mirror what Fish and Wildlife is doing. Try to mirror the same type of encryption for downlink, etc., so we can plug and play and switch, depending on who's up in the air. So live stream, and then also for UASs, and that's something is a process, as a lot of people know in here. The UAS types, they differ a little bit, so learning how to do all that stuff and get it going, and connecting all patrol dispatchers to TAC, especially when TAC seems very useful for dispatchers from feedback, because they can just put it on a separate screen. And then us and Fish and Wildlife are working on mesh radio systems, namely Somewhere Labs is what we've already demoed, and we will be doing the onboarding for our department next week. And that's a mesh and smart routing device between cell and sat and meshing. Both of our department's long-term goals are connect and federate more public agencies within TAC. Almost, if some of your departments use Flock, kind of almost having like a communications MOU between those agencies, especially for bigger events or maybe in continuous patrol, being able to share locations and talk to each other. And then I don't have it in here, but something that may be coming here in the next potentially 6 months, and Joel's also tuned into this, is something where we can collaborate statewide with a statewide server. And that's something we're really excited about. And that's all I got, and I appreciate your guys' time.
Good
Thank
deal.
you.
Mike, nothing going on. Man, there was a lot in there. Thanks for sharing. And there was a couple people who asked for your presentation. So I would think that we can make that available. But we definitely want to make your slides available. So keep firing up questions in the chat. We're going to roll next to Ryan. I'm going to make you the spotlight, and Mike, if you could stop sharing, and then I'll spotlight Ryan. And Ryan, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thanks, sir. Yeah, so again, I'm Game Warden Ryan Cobb. So just to kind of preface what Game Wardens are, I know Mike kind of talked about it, but we truly are a force multiplier down here in Texas. So there's about 550 Game Wardens throughout the state. Max about 8 Game Wardens in one county, all the way to 1 Game Warden servicing and patrolling 3 to 4 counties at one time. We also are an iPhone agency, and so that's had its limitations and troubleshooting. We're starting to get to where everyone is onboarded, and I'll kind of walk through some of our story in TAC as an agency right now. So specifically, whenever we started, let's see if I can find it. There it is. Whenever we started, our SWAT team tested it out just in general, and then we rolled it out to the whole field, specifically for Operation Lone Star, with how many agencies were down patrolling the southern border. There was a major officer safety concern, and so we started it there. And then I utilized it for the first time here in my county for a poaching case. I work really closely with one of our tracking canines, and was able to, while I was actually interviewing the suspects up here at their camp, real time, I was able to watch our tracking canine. He was dropping in some quick picks in there, and so I was real time able to see exactly where they had gone without letting them know that, hey, I have a guy out there right now tracking y'all's tracks. Ended up finding where they had shot a exotic down here and made a really good case out of it. So then we moved on, and I really started diving into it. We used it for a couple of different trainings, some alert trainings, just very basic, seeing what we can do with it, and really trying to put together a package to where we can push it up the chain to our chain of command. And so after that, we slightly used it in East Texas in 2024 for a minor flood event that happened over in Houston area. And this is whenever we first kind of started diving into the DataSync functionality of it. So we were able to drop in some markers for calls for service or rescues that needed. And we had a very basic, just using the 4 common icons of what, red diamonds need to be handled. Green was already handled, and then yellow was just an unknown, maybe a low water crossing or whatever. And so having that one common operating picture, because our agency doesn't have a CAD system in our trucks, we have one centralized dispatch in Austin. That if you're close enough to Austin, you can get comms, but all of our other radio traffic goes through our local agencies, whether it's DPS or just our local sheriff's offices. So that was a huge win there, just to kind of show at a large scale how we can utilize TAC and have everyone working off the same sheet of music. And then in July of 2024, we had a Hurricane Beryl response. This was a good testing point to see if we can break TAC. Just with 550 game wardens over here on the left-hand side, we just said, hey, if you're responding, this was actually for the lunar eclipse, just to see if we could respond and get as many people as we could on the server and see if we could break it. This one, we had about 300 game wardens turn it on. One of our SOPs is usually whenever we're just out on patrol, we're leaving our color of our dot blue. That's something that came down from Texas DPS with them hosting our state server, statewide server. That's a huge point that going forward, and for Michael or any other states that want to get a statewide server, having those SOPs in place for training helped us tremendously to know exactly how to train people as other agencies were coming on. So normally we're blue in a search and rescue event. All of our agency turns it to orange so that we know that that's a search and rescue asset that can be deployed out. We were also able to pull in some KML links without having to constantly add the new map for the path of this hurricane that was coming in for Hurricane Beryl. If you'd stayed up to date with that, at the beginning it was supposed to hit down in Mexico, and the track just kept on moving north and north and north. The eye ended up hitting land, or made landfall east of Houston. So that was a huge selling point to be able to have all your assets and the forecasted track of that hurricane on one image, one screen. After that, we did a SAR-X training out in Big Bend. This was another point where we were just trying to see if we could break it. And so we went to the most austere environment that we could here in Texas, out in Big Bend State Park. This was the first one where we had multiple different assets on scene. We did utilize a couple of the mesh radios as well, using GoTenna and Somewhere Lab devices. Also adding in some of our drone capability, which huge shout out to Texas DPS for kind of paving the way for the pipeline to stream in all of our drones, our aircraft, and to have those live video feeds. So this was my screen at the incident command, I was able to pull up a live drone feed and had WinTAC running. And this was a huge selling point for our chain of command, to have one screen, which everyone that is aware of TAC, the common operating picture, there's nothing else like it. And to be able to share all the information that you can just in one screen, was a huge selling point. This was a downlink from our helo that was out there as well. Just to show you the austere environment. We had 2 college students that was our role player. Hopefully this video is playing smoothly for y'all. Let me know if it's not, but
Yeah, that's good.
perfect. So just to show the austere environment, and we tried to break it and we couldn't. That's one thing for game wardens. We're out, law enforcement off the pavement. We're out on the water in this rough country, and so we're trying to break it, and we couldn't. And so that was kind of what springboarded our agency to really adopt and start utilizing TAC statewide, just for normal patrols as well. So there's wardens all throughout the state that are creating data syncs and using them for just a weekend saturation patrol. Or just recently, we started dove season at the beginning of September. There was probably 4 or 5 data syncs throughout the entire state where guys were dropping markers of, hey, I just checked this group of hunters. Maybe I wrote a citation and they would change it to a red diamond, or just having all that information out there to know that we're not double checking multiple people on accident. If we do it on purpose, that's one thing. But if we do it on accident, we don't want to be doing that. And then we roll into Kerrville flooding after that Big Bend. This was a huge turning point for TAC, utilizing it in such the way that we did. It was tremendous. We had over 1,300 users on the server and onboarded for that event specifically. So these are just this was the Game Warden incident command there in Kerrville. I was manning the JAG CT for all of our aircraft and drone assets. This was the largest event, or largest utilization of drones in Texas for any search and rescue event, and we had them all on TAC, able to stream in with our video walls through DroneSense and other capabilities. We also utilized TAC to display and show and update some of the Texas and U.S. senators, and so now they know and saw what TAC was, which hopefully will get us some more funding and more resources to further deploy TAC across the state. Just rolling through these, just some zoomed in pictures of it. But we had, I mean, this picture right here shows you just all the number of agencies that responded to that. Tons and tons of people that we were able to push TAC to, utilizing one data sync right here, to show all the different markers, all the search areas, the corridors, the possible victims, the drones, everything, all on one map. This one shows a really good view of what the corridors look like, search areas, and we just right after Kerrville is whenever we started really diving into the screen recording during events, that have helped us tremendously with the after action reviews and debriefs of events. Tying back into, or kind of, that's our story right now. We're still developing it, but so specifically what we've done here with game wardens that have helped our game wardens and park police officers with boots on the ground, day-to-day patrols. For us, we're law enforcement off the pavement. There's no roads. There's fence lines. We need landowners, different types of public property, whether it's WMAs or leased out property, or state park boundaries. And so being able to pull all of those into TAC was a huge selling point for our boots on the ground, just normal day-to-day patrol. So pulling in all the state park boundaries from our ArcGIS database was a huge win for our park police officers. We still write handwritten citations right now. So if you go throughout the state, you would have to make sure you contacted your local game warden there to be able to write a citation. So with that, we were able to pull in all the justice of the peace information onto TAC. And now anywhere in the state, you see where your location is and what precinct you're in. And it gives you on all the little I's or all the information that you would need to write a citation for. So that helped us tremendously. Just some overview of game warden stuff that really helped us out, as well as importing all of our deer breeder and CWD zones, just to have that on one screen. That was a big selling point as well, being able to know exactly where those zones were. And then specifically our DPS radio channels by county, because there's only 550 game wardens across the state, we're constantly traveling all over. And I was specifically en route to that Big Bend training that I discussed. And I was first on scene for a traffic accident, a 1050, and on I-10. And I had no idea what, and that was probably on me as well, but I had no idea what county I was in, what radio channel I needed to turn to. So I just resorted to calling 911. And after that, I was like, there has to be a way to share out all of the radio channels, no matter where you are in the state. So this was a huge selling point for all of our other agencies, not only us, but DPS, any other state agency that's traveling across the state. Every time I show this map, they're like, please, I need that. So that was a huge win for us. And then some multi-agency events. This was a barricaded subject. And we were able to coordinate using TAC. You can see the blues are all the game wardens, the red were DPS SWAT, and being able to understand exactly where everyone was a huge selling point. Setting up a media location for all the media people and staging areas and all that. So that was big. This one was a saturation patrol on Highway 77 just south of Kingsville. And you can see all the different agencies that participated in that, and being able to know exactly where people were, if there was an incident or a use of force or anything, to be able to quickly respond to that. And then recently we've used it down here in South Texas for pursuits and bailouts. Didn't play. Well, so we've utilized it there, and then just recently we had a large training for fugitive tracking and apprehension. Let's see, I think it zooms in. And so we were able to utilize it there in a training environment, but to be able to specifically know where everyone was, it greatly increased our effectiveness for catching these role players. And so just quickly scrolling through, this was a pursuit, or it was a stolen UTV. Two suspects fled from up here, and then two more continued down and fled from down here in the training scenario. And so to be able to look back and watch some of these, it really helped us to debrief and to find those after action review training points and things that we can do better. So I'll kind of let this play, but it's been a huge partnership between Texas DPS and us, and we're just now kind of getting all the state agencies on board, and now we're focusing our training and kind of marketing to some of our local agencies, because you as a force multiplier, being in one area, if it's only one dot on the map where you are, TAC is great, but you're not utilizing it to its fullest. And so whenever we have 256 counties in the entire state, being able to get TAC into those agencies with dispatch, with WinTAC in their dispatch, and deputies and PD officers, it just grows the effectiveness of TAC in and of itself. So this was a lot of work, mainly from DPS, and we've just kind of come in and fine-tuned it for what our guys boots on the ground can utilize it for. And hopefully I've shown a good overview of different things that we've utilized it in and continue to move forward, trying to get it onto specifically our boats. We have one of the largest fleets of vessels here in Texas, and so our next goal is to implement TAC onto some of our GPS devices on our boats and be able to screen share some of those whenever we're responding to a drowning, our side scan and other information that we're pulling from those vessels directly onto the TAC server. So we're working really closely with Ray Marine right now and trying to get that implemented and deployed, which would be a huge win for how many water incidents that we respond to throughout the state. So again, appreciate it, Kevin, and I think we're going to hold all questions till the end, but be more than happy to take those offline or answer as time allows after the fact. So appreciate it.
I put Ryan's LinkedIn in there as well as continue to fire up the chat. We'll answer them live. Ryan and Mike, great presentation so far. We'll go Paul next, then Joel. And we might run a little bit late because there's so much going on in these presentations, which is amazing. Also, Ryan, a couple people asked for your presentation there as well, so I want to see if we can get that. But Paul, I'm going to throw it to you. Joe will finish you last. So Paul, where did you go? All right, Paul, I'm going to spotlight you and the floor is yours. And you're on mute right now, by the way. So 2020 of you,
Okay,
Paul.
how are we looking now?
Good.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna flow through this one since there's a lot of overlap with the last two presenters. Most of you have heard me talk before. I tend to focus a bit on the search and rescue side of things since that's one of the functions of the sheriff's office in Arizona. Afterwards, though, I'll post a link to an offsite presentation on the SAR side of things if that is of interest to anyone. This one's going to focus a bit on the law enforcement use of TAC in our county. We're a very large, second largest county in the United States, 18,600 square miles. We have 65 sworn deputies roughly covering the entire county, and then 3 of us are sworn to our search and rescue coordinators. And then the other bit of that is it's kind of important to the TAC story is we have over 100 plus volunteers, professionally trained volunteers for search and rescue. And they are also on TAC. In fact, we actually started with them first before we got it over to patrol and now a regional SWAT team, which is in partnership with our local PD, Flagstaff PD. As I mentioned, we started in about 2018, and then using it in search and rescue, and then with the successes there, it moved into patrol and other functions, and the why. For me, I think back to Jared from Texas TPS in the first episode. He gives a story about a U.S. Marshal getting shot, and that TAC was really an effective way to get everyone on scene. And everyone's not on the radio asking where they are, where are they going, and things of that nature. And I think that's super important as part of the story, is it frees up your traditional radio to solve the problem and not tie it all up with where are you and so forth. TAC can easily do that on its own. And in some weird ways, it kind of can become a part of your pace in unexpected ways. So recently we had one of the things that we do in search and rescue and patrol is wildland fire evacuations. This is a scene from a recent fire, the Dragon Bravo fire, that actually burned down the North Rim, Grand Canyon North Rim Lodge. And so as we were responding, this thing, it was to a nearby fire. It was moving so fast that no one had any situational awareness as to where the fire was, how fast it was moving. And we also had federal land management partners respond, Forest Service, Park Service. And to top it all off, the tower that served that area, the radio tower that served that area, was inoperable. We didn't have that. Fortunately, we had developed an internal tool. We were able to quickly onboard our federal law enforcement partners. And that actually became the primary in our PACE plan. We didn't have the terrestrial radio. So cell phone service was spotty, but everyone was able to drop markers and leave the status of the campers that were in the area that we were trying to evacuate. We were able to get everyone on in minutes, and which really makes it a very good mutual aid interoperability tool. We can have different CAD systems. Some of them don't even have any CAD systems. So this was one example, a recent example of how you can get other agencies on board very quickly. One of the challenges that we have in as part of our agency is that if you use a cell phone in our county, if you get service, you're only going to get one bar or one tower. And so triangulation of somebody, either a lost hike or suicidal subject or somebody needing help, that's just oftentimes not possible. So we have to rely on call detail records. And what that does, we're measuring how far out from the tower that phone might be based on an arc and so forth. So we're noticing with this, because we can push it out and TAC, we draw this line and say, hey, to responding deputies or SAR personnel, say, hey, these what you see on the screen, these x-axes are probably some high probability locations, and they have oftentimes extended ETAs. And so while they're en route, as coordinators or supervisors, we can again, using an internal tool where we can put relevant call detail records to the person in the field. We're not just blowing their phone up with the entire record set. We can do it with an internal tool that we've developed, or these days we're using CloudTAC, developed by COTAC Colorado Center for Excellence. They have very similar tools that allow a supervisor to use a web-based client to get this information into TAC and push that out to a responding deputy. The other thing that's been particularly useful to us, whether it's a suspect or a hiker, being able to overlay other search tools like Landshark, for example. That's another Air Force Research Labs product that came out around TAC, and so we were able to use land elevation data. There is a plugin for this for ATAC that's out for .gov users, but in this case, we were using a web-based one and pushing it out. And in fact, this is a recent search, and we were able to locate the subject right here in the predicted travel path, since it matched a similar profile to what we believe the subject fell under. We don't have a manned aviation program. We partner with Arizona DPS, and some of their helicopter crew members are on TAC, and we're able to get not only photographs. In this case, we were able to identify, get the photo from the helicopter, send it to the family, and say, "Hey, is this your missing, your overdue family member?" And they would say yes. And so, okay, now we knew where they were, and this blue stuff here on the screen is actually where the sensor of the camera pointed. So if we had not located them, we could have then said, "Hey, start our next planning period. Like, we know we covered this area by air. Let's find the spots that we haven't covered." So very, very useful there as an interoperability tool. Drones starting to become heavily used. This is a recent use case, and it becomes really important in that not only can you see a video, deputies holding a perimeter can monitor that video, more eyes on that camera feed, and more importantly, where is that drone? So if we do locate someone, they could just go, "Oh, there's the field of view. That's where we need to go to apprehend a suspect or render aid to someone who might need it." A lot of, in our county, we have the Grand Canyon. We have a lot of difficult terrain to cover, and this is a drone feed with some drone photos of some potential targets. But as you can see, just staring at the screen, you're not going to find a person in that. So we're able to use some post-analysis tool. In this case, radiometric data, and we're able to pinpoint hotspots, targets, and then verify it with the regular drone feed, and then start planning our rescue or recovery operation there. And then recently, what's really cool about TAC is there's a lot of integration with other different payloads. This is a low energy Bluetooth sensor from QRC, which is a Parsons company, and they assisted us with the search in the Grand Canyon. Looks for low energy Bluetooth, smartwatches, earbuds, stuff that you can't see, and it's trying to pick up that signal. Then it just pipes it into TAC. You have it on a map. Everything you need to know in one place. And more importantly, especially recently, is airspace deconfliction and airspace awareness, whether we're doing rescue operations and the family saying, hey, send, any and all drone pilots, please come out. Potential real hazard. Recently, we had one where a media helicopter was circling the area, and that let us put up a TFRs for rescue or safety, and then we could sort of track who's entering the airspace and not. And it's not just aircraft, but also drone detection. And with some relatively inexpensive hardware, open source software, we can get some awareness of where an aircraft is, where drones are. And in this case, this is a manhunt with other partners. Deputies were able to track the helicopter in case, hold their perimeter, track the helicopter, and see if a suspect was located or identified, and then move in without having to tie up the radio traffic with where are you? You come over here, you could all see on a map. I mentioned cell phone service. This is a big part of why we use TAC. This is kind of the environment we operate in. When you're down here, you're not getting cell phone service, no matter what coverage map says. So that's search and rescue, but our deputies oftentimes respond to remote areas. And so some of us do have Starlink where we can backhaul, which is super important, especially when we're using mesh radios. And that, like the other presentations before, we do use Somewhere Labs. We've been using for a couple of years, and then use GoTenna Pros for our mesh radio. And then when we backhaul it to our Starlink, folks can see it back at the station or at the command post. And the beauty of it is, regardless of what you're using, you're still using one app, TAC, different network, but TAC. And you can be using both of these in different places, and it still shows up in one place. And I like this, close with this screenshot. This combines, search and rescue. SAR-Topo is a big mapping tool. Our sister agencies use them, and this kind of captures. We have an integration tool where we can feed SAR-Topo and also pull from SAR-Topo. So we have all these in white are volunteers from another county. The map was generated in SAR-Topo. It's pulled into TAC, and then using Somewhere, we had an operation on the next canyon over at the same time. Our dispatch is also tied into that. And so we can monitor all that on one common operating picture. And everything I talked about, I'm sure there's a separate capability out for it, but TAC lets you bring it all together and connect. And sort of, I see it as sort of the glue for efficient and safe operation. And that is all I got. Happy to stay late to answer questions too.
Thank you. Yeah, we're definitely going to run late. And if anything, this is more reason why you should come to CivTech. Shout out Ken, who's in here. So CivTech 2025. I put the link in the chat. We'll put it back in. We're going to go to Joel. Joel, take your time. And we are going to stay late to allow some of this back and forth Q&A with the audience. And so Joel, floor is yours. Final presentation, and then open to the audience.
Thanks, Kevin. And Paul, Ryan, and Mike, you guys are a tough act to follow. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get this going.
I see it's in presenter mode, so I can slide stuff.
How about now?
Now you see your main desktop screen.
All right, give me 1 second to back out and come back in.
I think if you do that bottom right, at the bottom of the PowerPoint screen, with that button right there. Oh, it's doing that. You try slideshow up top, or the top part of it, where there's like a little like play button. No, you go to the middle of the screen. Kind of middle towards the left, where it says like TAC offsite PPT, and then to the right there, there's a little to the left of that. It's like a
Yes.
little play button up top.
It's still. All right. There we go. You should be seeing a badge now.
You're not sharing your screen anymore now.
How about now?
1 second. All right, we got it. There we go.
Apologize for the delay there.
That's good.
So Joel Schmidt, Chico PD. We won't go over too much of the stuff you guys already know. You guys did a great job presenting from your agencies. As far as Chico
Morning,
Police Department, we started
yeah,
with this, which is paper pencil, which is a great backup plan, but we just weren't seeing the situational awareness that we needed, and we're moving forward into modern times. And now that paper display that you saw before, we can overlay location and video like a lot of the other presenters have talked about. When we roll that out into the field, where you're seeing something like this at the command post level, where you got a couple different screens.
We're actually just seeing a logo of Chico Police. I'm not sure, maybe actually if it might be the wrong screen that you're sharing.
Tell you what, let's do it this way. So change it for you there.
Good.
Okay, you're seeing a paper display.
Yep.
All right, thanks again. And so this is what we were working with in the past. As time's gone on, using TAC, we're able to come look at screens or an interface that's more up to date, has a bunch of different feeds coming in, and gives us a lot greater situational awareness. I think anybody that's generally familiar with TAC can see how some of these capabilities will help you with that situational awareness that you're striving for in a lot of these different incidents or operations that you're working. In terms of patrol and kind of how we've integrated that in our operations, these are our watch commander vehicles, and we're typically using computers, tablets, different screens to get that information to us in the field. You will see some cell phones down that lower left side of that tabletop at the back of a Tahoe, and that's ultimately what we needed to do, is push down a lot of the situational awareness that you're seeing at the command post level down to the officers or operators in the field, so they can make better decisions, be more informed. And that was our driving focus. We have some other tools in the department to see the video feeds and to see the mapping, but the officers on the ground weren't able to see that. To the point that was discussed earlier, those officers need to be able to deconflict those crossfires and conflicts with other agencies in our operational areas. This is a picture of a containment effort that was led recently by one of our patrol teams. They get info from the highway patrol that they're in a pursuit that's coming to our jurisdiction. And as they respond to the scene, there's a footbail from the car. There's a couple CHP units there, and they quickly set up a containment effort in order to lock that area down. Ultimately, they recovered the suspect hiding in a dumpster there. The feedback from the officers was, hey, I knew where I was at and I knew some of the streets, but I really didn't know how to direct some of the other officers to containment positions, or I knew some officers were establishing containment, and when that supervisor or team lead got there, they were stuck with piecing together where everybody was at. By looking at the TAC screen on the right, they basically set up a box around the location very quickly. Our TL, or our team leader at that time, over here in the corner, was able to sit down with, or not sit down, but go shoulder to shoulder with one of the highway patrolmen and coordinate both sets of resources. Even though the highway patrol wasn't on TAC, they're able to show them where our folks were and ultimately grab this guy out of the dumpster. Another example was patrol detectives were working a mobile takedown. So in that lower left-hand portion of the screen, you're seeing the detectives are there in brown. They were conducting a surveillance operation in a parking lot while this was going on. Unfortunately, we didn't have the screen record feature going, but they were positioning resources. So they had their K9 across the street, they had a takedown team behind the business, and the supervisors running that incident were able to see where their folks were and look at the space and terrain that they were dealing with. As that suspect started to move, the surveillance units were able to call it out, and those units that were part of that takedown team were able to operate and see where everybody was at, and ultimately take the suspect down. And what you see with that blob there on the right with a lot of blue icons is that team that did the takedown and subsequently conducted their felony stop. This next one is a video. It's a combination of, you'll see some footage we put out on social media. It's basically an apprehension of a felony subject with a weapon that our K9 unit interdicted, and you'll kind of get an idea of the officers, the vehicles, and the terrain that they were dealing with. And then what will follow is a snapshot of the footage, a screen recording from TAC where you can see the officers
Joel, the video stopped playing. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a video for this one.
from that perspective.
There we go. And not sure if there's supposed to be audio, but there's no audio, by the way.
Here's an example of the TAC screen. Your officer up towards the top, is up here on the right, is in contact or is loosely following the suspect as he's working through that brushy area. He's maintaining a visual on him at times. He's coordinating those resources. The officer there, 77 on the left, is kind of paralleling on the far side to establish containment. And ultimately, that's what this TAC app was helpful in, that the officer, when he was being asked, hey, where are you at? He goes, hey, to the officers, just turn on your TAC app, you'll see where I'm at. Dispatch was able to do the same. And then they were ultimately able to coordinate that response. What you don't see is those units as they form up for that contact team to support the officer in the middle and move up on them. But there was a thick, brushy area, a lot of toolies, head high once you got in there, and some water features. And this really allowed them to coordinate both amongst themselves, but then with the UAS that was overhead, and direct them into the suspect and ultimately take him into custody. This is just a quick screenshot. This is so this use case came from a recent officer-involved shooting we had. The tactical team went out to contact a homicide suspect. He footbailed through an apartment complex or a high residential housing area. And one of the in discussing that after action report with those that were involved was, hey, at one point the drone operator saw the suspect running across the top of a parking garage, but they couldn't tell if he was a good guy or a bad guy due to the low light conditions. The subsequent operation was happening during some low light conditions initially early in the morning. And with the use of the TAC tracker here, you can see, we can take that drone feed and get a good idea of, it's easy to see the officers there in relation to the Bearcat, but as soon as they start moving around, it gets difficult to tell who's who. Using that TAC feed, we can see those officers on the ground, where they're positioned. And then we don't have another screenshot of it, but with using the UAS tool with that augmented reality feature, you'll actually see those dots on the video feed above those officers that are there on the ground. And that helps with that situational awareness as well. Here's a quick example of a vehicle barricade in a training environment where the officers were able to, in the TAC screen, able to see a couple different video feeds, the overwatch and then a close-up of the vehicle itself, as well as where all the operators are positioned. And these last two use cases revolve around some training scenarios involving active killers. So this is a school that you're seeing. This first scenario, you're going to see a single officer make entry as he would on patrol for an active killer type event. The scenario played out in that he engaged a suspect and then went radio silent. So the last transmission the officers got, the patrol team that responds, which is going to be these pink dots towards the bottom, is that the officer went in, engaged the suspect, and his location was unknown. Because they are running the ATAC or using that TAC application, they had a rough idea of where he was at and were able to get to where he and the suspect were at within about 20 seconds of making entry to the school. And this will play shortly. So that's your solo officer going in, that first pink dot. He engages the suspect, goes down, is radio silent, and then you see that team come in, and they're ultimately able to get to him pretty quickly, but more importantly, make contact with the suspect in a timely manner. This video you're seeing is sped up just for our purposes here, so that you don't have we're not sitting here all day. And the second video that you're seeing is just a time lapse of about 10 minutes of the same type of active killer scenarios, where you'll quickly see as those resources come on scene, how quickly they ingress and egress different areas, and how as a supervisor or somebody trying to manage that incident, you're going to have a hard time keeping track of folks. But with that TAC, or with that situational awareness that this application provides, we really have an enhanced information that allows us to make great decisions in a timely fashion, depending on where our folks are. In this case, they had a suspect, some different IEDs, and a few different problems to solve. And this team leader that's up here outside the building, number 76, you could just barely see him to your upper left. He's basically coordinating a lot of those movements, and he's able to, with this application, able to recognize where the different people are at and what problems they're solving and get them the resources they need. Some different avenues that we're exploring is based on those last two training environments and the active killer stuff that we saw. We did have some difficulty understanding where the officers were, because they're referencing internal room numbers and classrooms, door numbers that they're seeing inside. And so we're exploring and taking those site maps from the local school district and overlaying them over some of those critical infrastructure, high value targets. That's a work in progress. This is just an example of the UAS tool. It really helps out with some of your situational awareness when you start integrating drones and aircraft into the problem. This screen here shows how that tool is used. Excuse me, the previous screen shows where the different staff members are. And then in this screen, you see the overlay of the actual video feed over the map, that map that you're going to see in TAC or ATAC or WinTAC, CloudTAC, any of those interfaces that you use. And that gives you a real-time look at the vehicles and personnel moving around. Lastly, we've integrated some vendor-specific aerial mapping and scans. It typically has its realm started in the crime scene mapping environment, but our UAS folks have adapted that so they can get on scene in about 15 minutes, take a quick, hasty scan of the area, and then overlay that over whatever mapping you're using. So you get it's not real time in the sense that you're seeing people move around, but you're getting a fresh, updated tiles over your location. So when they say, hey, I'm next to the red car, you actually can see the red car that they're standing next to, because you have a map, essentially a satellite image that you're looking at that was taken, 15, 20 minutes before. And just a quick shout out to AJ and some of the other folks that have made this happen for us. We're currently hosted by a nonprofit public safety server through AJ and Corey and some of those other influential members in the ATAC, the TAC space that are part of the TAC channel. And we wouldn't be where we're at without them. We're currently in discussions with the California Office of Emergency Services. They're evaluating a couple different ideas or vendors that are out there to provide this type of situational awareness to law, fire, EMS. If you do have a specific interest in this type, seeing this come to fruition at the statewide level, similar to what's happening in Colorado, please reach out to me directly. I can put you in contact with the folks over at OES. They're essentially looking for a list of agencies that are interested so they can express to their command that there is a value in having this service out there. Other than that, just keep fighting the good fight. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Apologize for the technical difficulties, and thank you everybody for being involved.
Thank you, Joel. Well, we had 6. Yeah, if you could stop sharing, that'd be great. We had 60 people at one point. We got 50. We're gonna go a little bit late here. I want to still enable some of the back and forth Q&A. I'm kind of voluntold 2 people to kind of kick us off, and then again we'll keep going for another 10, 20, 30 minutes depending on how long. But thank you. That was just truly, I was drinking out of a fire hose there, and really exciting to see truly how valuable TAC is and all these different dismounted military applications. So Ken Rabin, I'm looking at you first, then Zev, as far as comments, questions, building on what they said, as well as give us a little insight to some of the work you're doing. Ken.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks so much, Kevin. All right, so CivTech 25 in Washington, D.C., November 4, 5, and 6. We've got an amazing program being lined up. We've keynotes from TAC Product Center from Nate France, Ralph Kohler, Air Force Research Labs, an amazing array of innovators, companies that and subject matter experts that are making TAC happen in the civilian sector. Please consider registering sooner rather than later. The capacity in the facility is limited. We will be capped. And so I fear we're going to end up turning people away. Be sure to sign up early. The website Kevin's put up. In terms of exhibitors, we're pretty much sold out at this point for exhibition space. This is turning into a fairly popular event. We'll be having some social activities as well. And I think a lot of the presentations that we've heard today are going to be expanded on in the various sessions. I've noticed in the early registrations, very heavy representation from the law enforcement community. I'm very pleased that a number of IT support specialists who are making TAC work in their agencies are coming to the event. So look forward to seeing everybody. Get in there, get your registrations. Also, the hotel block is starting to fill up. So we got some attractive rates. I cannot ask the hotel for more rooms until we exhaust the block that we have. I urge you, don't wait on hotel. Get the booking in now.
Life easy. Thanks, Ken. All right, Zev, tell us a little about you. Anything you want to add on or questions? And also love to hear about some of the show and content that you're creating too.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful, amazing Zoom. I really enjoyed and appreciated all the presentations. My name is Zev Nather. I'm the managing partner of UAS Strategic. We focus on two things, CUAS counter drone for the commercial space, as well as TAC. I am the host of All Things TAC, which is a live stream on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect with me there, and I'll put you on the list if you'd like to see it. We bring forth different companies to present what they have as solutions. We've had Amos on there, who I think just had to leave this Zoom. We've had his company, Samsung, on there. We've had CTI. We had Tough Stump, and it's been great. So that's one of the things we do for TAC. The other thing that I'd like to announce is that we've been chosen by droneresponders.org to head up their working group as it relates to TAC. So we put together a TAC server. We call it the TAC Server Sandbox, and we are going to be populating the, want to look at the word they use there, not knowledge-based, resource center. With it's going to be chock full of AJ videos, which I love when he starts with, "Hey TAC fans," I hope he continues with that. And it's going to have a lot of different SOPs and so on. I'm actually going to ping some of you guys who have been on today, because I'm looking forward to getting your SOPs and how you mission plan and so on, best practices. Yep, so that's what we're all about. That's what we do. I think Paul Clifton show a picture of a mini Edge from Nine Hills Technology. We're a dealer for them. We're going to be presenting that at CivTech 25, which so glad I met you, Kevin and Ken, so that I heard about it and know about it, and we have a table there. So we'll be showing their wares there, as well as talking about droneresponders.org. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Zev. All right, I see there's a couple people in the chat, and again, this doesn't have to go on too much longer, but I know there was a lot in there from all these different videos and presentations. But does anybody have any question that you want to ask real time? Again, this is a chance for you to ask the question, get any sort of value out of this now. Of course, this is recorded. I know we are past the hour, but if not, I'll give it in there 10 seconds of silence. And if anything, I'll kind of let everyone go back to their day. And on that, we break bread. It's a pleasure. It's been awesome today. Paul, Joel, Ryan, Mike, I guess if anything, you guys, a final mic drop moment or comment or question, or maybe even a quote, really kind of anything you can kind of leave us here with today. You gave us a lot, but Paul, because your mic is on, any sort of final thoughts you know, I know that I love the AJ quote, don't be afraid to suck at something new. So I'll leave with that. But Paul, what do you got?
I think along those lines, these were all excellent presentations and probably water from a fire hose, but start small. Just see yourself on the map, anywhere else on the map, and just know that you know, Kevin put up the tacpublicsafety.org. There's a Slack group. Reach out, it's super helpful. Don't be afraid. There are a ton of people ready to walk you through that whenever you so choose.
To echo that, this community is incredibly supportive and willing to help. So don't be afraid to reach out to TAC Public Safety as well as the Slack channel. Throw to you, Mike.
One thing I just wanted to say was thank you, Ryan. I know I'm just highlighting you even more, but your presentation was awesome. And when you brought up the drone sense stuff, our department's already going to be using some of that stuff. So I did not know you could use drone sense to video drones in. So that's going to be a shortcut for us. And I think that's going to make our drone program coordinators very happy about that we can just plug and play with drone sense.
Absolutely. They're actually working on another addition to that, to where all the map markup, hopefully I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but that all the map markup on drone sense that you do with the either the controller or drone sense itself will auto populate into TAC, instead of, because we were having to duplicate everything. So we were, you know, doing mission planning, which someone asked a question. We were doing that in drone sense and have to go over and redo it basically in TAC. So now there's going to be a pipeline between those two, which will be super beneficial.
Thanks, Ryan. Ryan, now that the floor is yours, any other kind of final mic drop or moments, quotes, messages you could leave us with here today?
No, I'd echo what Paul was saying. Start small. Your biggest hiccup is going to be with, or your biggest people that are not going to want to jump right on TAC. Don't let that discourage you. And don't. I love the "and-tac" quote. We talked about it in Washington, D.C. A month or two ago or whatever. But it's not a fix-all, right? You're not going to just be able to solely rely on TAC. You're still going to have good radio comms. You're still going to, at some point, you're going to have to break out your compass and a piece of paper and a pen. But whenever TAC does work, it will save lives and it will put more bad guys behind bars. So that's what I want to leave everyone with.
Well said, Ryan. And Joel.
Just to echo what everybody's mentioned so far, keep it simple, kind of like those technical issues I had there initially. Sometimes that's enough to put people off. So just everything you can do to start small, streamline everything, make it easy for the end user. And if you can do that and get their buy-in, then they'll be begging to do more with it.
Thanks, Joel. And that's how a couple of people ask about the Slack channel. If you send me an email or hit me up on LinkedIn, I know AJ wants to be a little careful on giving up the Slack channel, but if you're the first responder or someone that's working on TAC and doing it for the right reasons, they definitely want you in that Slack group. So send me a note and I'll make sure I get it to AJ and he can send you the link. But again, want to say thank you, Mike, Ryan, Joel, Paul. You guys are all leading and doing some amazing work. Stay tuned for all things CivTac. We might be pulling together another roundtable sometime end of October, but early November, CivTac right around the corner. So thank you all again. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week ahead, and stay safe. See ya.
Thanks, Kevin.